Welcome to the MOOC course on Abhidhamma. In this module, we are going to discuss an introduction of functions of consciousness, Chit Kichani. The main learning objective of this module is to understand the function of consciousness, to understand the process of knowing the objects. Since the Abhidhamma teaches the path to the realization of the truth, the study of mind has been given the foremost attentions and consideration throughout its discussion of reality. The content of Abhidhamma is thus predominantly psychological. It also explains the various types of activities done by a man throughout his life. There are altogether 14 types of functions which are performed by the consciousness, Chit or mind throughout the human life, that is from entering into the womb of mother, Patisandhi, up to the disconnection of the life process, that is the Chuti. Since these 14 acts are being performed by our consciousness, these are called as Chit Kichani. Here, Kich stands for function, Karanam Ti Kicham. The 14 types of functions are namely Patisandhi, Bhavanga, Avajjana, Dassana, Savana, Ghayana, Sayana, Fusana, Sampatichana, Santirana, Otthappana, Javana, Tadalambana, Chuti. Now, the question arises that which type of consciousness, which are 89 or 121 in number. In this respect, there is a humble attempt to analyze the functions and the consciousness one by one. So, we are going to discuss all these 14 types of consciousness. First is Patisandhi. It is the first action which is performed by our consciousness. Its literal meaning is joining together. Patisandhanam Patisandhi. It in fact unites one state of existence with the other state of existence. Hence, it is called as uniting force. The previous stream of life is united with the present one, which is responsible for the future life. Thus, the act of uniting the two states of life is called as Patisandhi. Intrinsically, it is a psychological state, a consciousness beyond, and functionally it is ethical. It is the arising of any one of the 19 types of resultant consciousness in 3 planes of existence, regulated by the force of actions, Kamma, in the Kamaloka. It arises in the form of one of the 10 types of resultant consciousness, namely 2 types of investigating consciousness, Santirana Chitta, and the 8 types of great resultant Mahavipaka. Its appearance in the Rupa Loka is marked in the form of any one of the 5 types of Rupavachar resultant consciousness, whereas it springs up as one of the 4 types of Arupavachar resultant consciousness in the Arupa Loka. On the appearance of any one of the consciousness in this way, we name it as appearance of life, Patisandhi, or these 19 types of resultant consciousness do the function of Patisandhi. It does not mean that all the 19 types of consciousness work simultaneously. Second, Bhavanga. It is the second act in the process of life. It is defined as Bhavasya Angamti Bhavangam. It is the basis of present life. Thus, the act of forming the base of the present life is called as Bhavanga. Avicheda Pavati Athe tu Bhavena Bhavasya Anga Bhavo Bhavanga Kicha. It is being done with the accumulation of resultants of all the past activities done by a particular being. It is also of two types, namely Kamma Bhava and Upatti Bhava. The act of bhavang is also performed by the same 19 types of consciousness as in the case of Patisandhi. Avajjana, third is Avajjana. It is the third act which is nothing but turning of mind to the impressions. It means recollection. It is defined as Avajjayate Avajjanam. When the six senses start functioning, the various types of objects appear in the range of our senses, and the senses become alert for what has happened. This act of alertness of senses is called as avajjana. Avattana bhavo avajjan kichatata. There are two types of consciousness that perform the function avajjana. They are namely Panchadwara Vajjana Chitta, or turning of impressions at the five doors of senses, and Manodwara Avajjana Chitta, or turning of impressions at the mind door. Next is Dassana. It means seeing. When the visible object Rupa comes in the range of the eye, the mind with the cooperation of eye sees it. The act of seeing is called as Dassana. It is being performed by two types of eye consciousness, namely Upekha Sahagat Chakhu Viyana, Akusala Vipak, and Upekha Sahagat Chakhu Viyana, Kusal Vipak. Next is Savana. It is the act of hearing the audible objects. It is also performed by two types of Sotabiyana consciousness, namely Upekha Sahagata Sotabiyana, Akusala Vipak, and Upekha Sahagata Biyana Kusal Vipak. Next is Ghayana. It means smelling odorous objects, Gandha, and it is performed by two types of consciousness, namely Upekha Sahagata Biyan Kusal Vipak and Upekha Sahagata Ghan Biyan Akusal Vipak. Next is Sayana. It is the releasing or testing the separated objects, rasa. There are two types of tongue consciousness which perform the act of Sayana, namely Upekha Sahagata Jihva Biyan Kusal Vipak and Upekha Sahagata Jihva Biyan Akusal Vipak. Then next is Fusana. It is the act of touching the tangible objects, that is the fourth tabba, which is done by the two types of consciousness, namely Dukh Sahagat Kaya Biyan Akusal Vipak and Akusal Sahagat Kaya Biyan Kusal Vipak. Next is Sampatichan. It means working or receiving. Immediately after the eye consciousness, the mind marks the object as something existing in the world of reality. It is simply marking of the object and not understanding of its details. There is something which is understood, but what it is not known. It is simple receiving without having any types of acquaintance. It is performed by two types of Sampatichan Chittas, namely Upekha Sahagata Sampatichan Chitta Kusal Vipak and Upekha Sahagata Sampatichan Chitta Akusal Vipak.